And welcome to Believe in Chargers, presented by FanDuel with the great Lorenzo, Neal, Matt Money Smith here, coming off day one as we are recording this, day one of mandatory minicamp. 2 more days. I have one today and then tomorrow out at the Bolt, and then we will say goodbye to the folks for about a month and change. They will start training camp end of July, last week of July. So between now and then is time for vacations, family, just draw down and relax before the storm arrives low. And I'll start with this, and you can share what you would do in your time. But I was having this conversation yesterday on the field with a couple former players, and we were talking about that relationship of center to and quarterback, because you could see Biotish and Herbert kind of talking and stuff, and we heard what Justin said about Tyler. Oh, first snap, I knew. And, you know, that kind of warms you up a little bit, like, all right, cool, these guys, this feels like this could be a good combo. But you sent me a video, you and Mike Allstott, and you paving the way for him to get into the end zone there for a touchdown. What's like, walk me through the relationship between you and LT and you and Mike Allstott and you and Eddie George. Like, what is the fullback running back relationship like? Is it similar to quarterback center?
I think it is. I mean, because you watch so much film together. Yeah, you go into team meetings and the offensive line and quarterback receivers we watch, and then, okay, we go 9-on-7 and it's just offensive linemen and running backs, and, you know, and we go over that. You know, and then it's in the meetings, and it's, you know, you're talking about the integral part of the game. When you think about a quarterback and center, quarterback saying, "Hey, look, what are you saying? If the center, if the tackle, not the tackle, but the linebacker walks down, are you saying hole? Because I'm going to hold now. A guy's in the hole. Are you going to say, are you calling the guy down? Are you going to call the guard down? Because the quarterback and center, they want to have that relationship. So they're constantly communicating. It's like, hey, look, okay, the safety's in there. Safety comes down now. 1 extra block. Who's going to do it? Do you want me to make the rip call? We're going to slide everyone to the right. Or you're going to make the rip call? Are you going to call a pop where the guard's uncovered and the guard's just going to duel out, pop out of his stance, and he's going to fan block and go get the unblocked guy because he's uncovered? So it's so many integral parts of the game. That's the chess game that goes on between the center and quarterback. And also when you're talking about the fullback and running back, you know, LT and I would look and I say, okay, they're playing 2 safeties down. Okay, but the safety's coming in. And he's in, so safety, plus. You make the plus call. But now it's like I see the linebacker, and the linebacker wants me to block him inside because the safety's standing there as the force player. But when I see him, if I can widen the safety, if I can widen the linebacker a little wider, and now throw my head to the outside or make the linebacker thinking I'm taking a course inside, and if I can throw my head inside, now LT can go inside and the safety is playing air. So there's so many nuances of the game that you're watching when I watch with the tailbacks, and it's like, okay, this is what they're going to do. All right, bro, I'm going to set him down low. Give me some time. And then if you on that same page, and sometimes running back, they're up on you too close, and now you can't make your block and move the guy. So it's about patience. So there is definitely chemistry. There's great relationships between running backs and fullbacks, great relationships between, you know, quarterbacks and in the offensive line, especially the center, because they have to be on point, because you want to make sure that quarterback doesn't take a lot of hits.
Now, look, I know that quarterbacks make stupid money, right? They're making $200-300 million a year. It's a different deal. You know, they want to buy the offensive line, you know, a Rolex or a whatever it is, a third rail thingy, dune buggy, all those things, you know, riding mower, compound bow, whatever it is, those big fleshy white dudes want.
Yeah, exactly. A gun.
You know, running backs don't make quarterback money, but they make more than fullbacks. Did any of your running backs buy you gifts at the end of the season or Christmas gifts to say, hey man, thanks for taking the punishment that I get to cash in on?
You know what, Mike and I still today, we still do wonderful things. We'll take trips, or he'll take on trips, you know, LT, they come to different places. You ask, they're there. I mean, from dinner, okay, we got a $2,000 dinner, and you're like, hello, put your credit card away. I think it's just those little things. You don't go out saying, hey, give me this, give me that. It's just different with the offensive lineman and quarterback. They just feel compelled to make sure you take care of them offensive linemen, whether it's Purdy bought them all trucks, down in San Francisco. So, it's like, it's just it's just something it's something that's always happened throughout the year, and especially when you're one of those quarterbacks that are getting paid that type of money. But with the running backs, yeah, Eddie's got me Eddie George, a first class ticket, a flight, feeling this, significant other. So it's always some wonderful things you get, but you don't expect anything. You just feel like you're doing your job.
Yeah, look, and that's why those guys are going to be at your golf tournament a week from Saturday.
Absolutely.
Friday night, we're going to party at the PM Lounge. Saturday, we're going to golf together, have a great time. Very much looking forward to it. Again, check out Lowe's Instagram. He's got the link there. I think still some slots available. It's going to be a heck of a weekend out in Fresno, and not surprising that you and Mike are still close. I mean, two just working class dudes from Fresno State and Purdue. I mean, that's just like, I'm nothing against LT and TCU and the fancy sorority girls that kind of roll down there to their private university in Dallas. But yeah, Purdue and West Lafayette and Fresno State, maybe a little bit more of a connection there in the way you guys see the world, right?
Right. West Lafayette, I went out there. My son was out there, and trust me, it's worse than Lemoore. Hey, buddy, they don't. You going? I'm like, oh my goodness. My son said, "See, Dad, I'm right here." I'm like, "Hey, son, enjoy it." So,
well, they got an ice cream shop.
Yes.
Like when that's what they hang their hat on. My folks live about an hour away from West Lafayette, so I know the area well.
Yeah.
What do you guys got here in West Lafayette? And look, it's a great school. It's an incredible engineering school. So it's not like academically it's fantastic, but you kind of look around and you're like, so what do you guys got? Well, we got all those turbines out there making a bunch of energy. Okay. What else you got? You ever had a soda from the creamery up the street here? It's like,
money.
Okay.
My son took me to a restaurant. Everyone talks about what I said. So you go to restaurants. So what do they get here? Cheese curds, blocks of cheese. Money. I was constipated for 4 days. I was like, what the hell did I eat? I was like, what you guys? This is what you guys eat. I will never do this again.
They love their cheese, man. They love their cheese. All right, FanDuel, we mentioned it. We're here because of them. A big thank you to them. Odds low. If you want to get a look at a little bit here, the odds over-unders for the Chargers, if you want to start thinking about that, it feels like they are trending toward a higher total. So maybe if you're interested, get on this early. Look at that, over 9.5 is at -130. Really, the value is going to be in the unders because clearly the folks out there believe this team is going to hit 10 wins. You see -130 to get to 10, and the unders heavy, under 7.5 plus 320, 9.5 plus 110. So you can get after that. Chargers expected to win double digits. And I think also, we talked about how they are tied atop the odds for the favorites to win the AFC West, despite the fact that Denver Broncos had the number one seed in all of the AFC last year. Yet the Chargers are still one of those teams, along with the Chiefs, that are favored to win the division. And I'll start with that because I'll tell you, out there on the field yesterday, I was talking to Joe Ortiz, general manager, for a little bit, and I wasn't blowing smoke or anything. I said, man, let me tell you, this is my 10th year doing play-by-play for this team, and I don't think it's even close. Like, this is the deepest team that I have seen. Like, you can talk about, prior iterations when you had Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler and, Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa. Like, those teams, don't get me wrong, they were freaking talented teams. But when I look across the field, I'm not thinking about, who's going to play? Who are they going to find to play here? I'm thinking about, and some of these dudes are going to get cut. Like, there's some good players out here that are not going to make the 53-man roster, like some really good players that are going to get scooped up like that are not going to clear it and make it to the practice squad. And I think about defensive tackle. I think about defensive. I think there is a serious battle at edge with that. Ndame Tucker has become and it's no surprise, right? I mean, Chris O'Leary had him at Western Michigan. He led the NCAA in sacks last year. I was talking to somebody, a scout, who said, look, man, if this guy's 22 and maybe has a different story arc behind him, I'll put it that way, this guy's top 75 pick, probably more like top 50 pick. And instead, he's an undrafted free agent because he's 25, and there's some stuff there that Chris O'Leary, clearly having coached him last year, can vouch for and set to the side. So, like, then I think about Bud Dupree and Kyle Kennard, and, like, that's going to be a battle. And then at linebacker, man, that room is probably 7-8 deep, and I don't think they can carry but 5. And so, like, that's just 2 little instances. And, Lo, I bring it up so you can kind of build off that about what it feels like in training camp when you've got a deep team versus when you look around and you're like, we got to find some dudes now because there ain't enough dudes out here versus we got a lot of dudes out here.
Yeah, and I've been on both, where the teams were still good when it wasn't very deep. Take Tennessee, for instance, with the Titans. You had the great Eddie George. You have, Steve McNair, Frank Wycheck. But behind Eddie George, who was the running back? You didn't really have a guy. Rodney Thomas was a decent little running back. And it was like, if he got hurt, you're like, okay, well, we got to go try and, got to go ahead and do it by the air or with Steve or with, by committee, because really didn't have that. So thank God, Eddie was a big, durable guy and a guy that you knew could take some pounding and keep on ticking. But when you looked at the Chargers, I mean, you have a Hall of Famer first ballot in LT. But if LT were to get hurt, you had Michael Turner. And if Turner got nicked up, there was another guy, Darren Sproles, the little water bug that freaking can, walk on water, quick, agile, can do a lot of things, run in between tackles, small guy, but was physical and tough. So when I've been on different teams, you're like, my goodness, you look back, look when we had Steve Foley in 95, had to back him up. Forgetting his name right now. Who was 95 who was the 2 outside linebackers that we had? He had lights out, but then when Foley got hurt,
Phillips?
Sean Phillips. That's it.
Yeah,
Sean. I keep thinking about Sean. So you had Glenn Foley, Sean Phillips. You had a room that these 2 guys and 3 guys were battling, trying to fight for time. So you look at the Chargers now and you think about the outside linebackers and what they did in the draft. You think about the offensive line, they talk about it, but you got some solid guys. You talk about the running back room and seeing different guys.
Think about that, Lo. Like you mentioned that running back room. Now you've got Amarion Hampton. He went down last year. We know Kimani Vidal is plenty capable. And then behind him, you mentioned Sproles. Now you got Keaton Mitchell. Who's a 4.29 guy.
Exactly.
So that's that room.
Your running backs are stacked in defensive side of the ball. The linebackers, like you said, in the pass rush. This team is ready to compete. They know they're ready to compete. They know that their window of opportunity is now. And I can't wait for this season. My biggest prayer is for this team, and I know yours is too, is just the injury bug. If this team stays healthy, I would put a lot of money that they will represent. They will be represented in the AFC finals this year, barring injuries. I'm not saying it's a Super Bowl, but I really believe they are good enough to get to the AFC championship game. And anything can happen in that game. But I think right now, they're the best team in the AFC, barring injuries. Yeah.
Look, and I think the thing with depth, and by the way, might as well throw it up there right now, Super Bowl odds from our friends at FanDuel. Yeah, they agree with you. We've talked about it, and this is even after, an offseason and free agency and the draft. And, if you're talking about participating in the AFC championship game, they are right behind the Bills and Ravens. As far as the folks at FanDuel are concerned, your NFC championship game, as you can see it per the odds, Rams Seahawks, repeat from last year. The AFC championship game, Bills, who lost a heartbreaker to the Broncos, and the Ravens, who didn't even make the playoffs last year. But it shows you what kind of confidence they have in our old friend Jesse Minner, who's taken over as the first-year head coach, and the 2-time MVP Lamar Jackson. And right behind them, you got the Chargers with better odds than the team that repped the AFC in the Super Bowl at plus 1,600. So, yeah, I think, the folks that are setting these numbers are right there with you. And if you feel like Lowe does, not bad to get a plus 1,600 now before they get this season started, especially with the way they're going to open up against the Raiders and the Cardinals and what that might look like after 2 weeks. If, right now FanDuel has the Chargers as 10.5-point favorites over the Cardinals. So you come out of that one and it's a blowout, and those odds can start to go down. So if you want to get in on it now, get in on it. But I brought up the depth I think there's two things. Like one, I say this to people that come to me for whatever advice because I'm sort of like in the public eye, and they're always asking me, "Oh, I want to do what you do," and you're so lucky. And yeah, I am. I get to wake up and do something I love and call it work, and it's really the great victory in life if you can do that. I said, but one thing I always try to share is, and just don't keep focusing on what you don't have, right? It's not like it's my thing. It's very popular, just a very popular sentiment. Focus on what you do have. Like, what do I have? This is great. I got my health. I got my family. I've got people that love me. I've got friends that I cherish. I've got Southern California weather. I've got the ocean right here that I can go jump in. I got a dog that freaks out every time I come home if I've been gone for 5 minutes and wants to lick me for 10. Like, it's great. It's not about what you don't have. And I think Charger fans have fallen into this rut of left guard, left guard, left guard, left guard, left guard. And it's like, okay, we'll figure out left guard. But just do me a favor, man. Take the blinders off and look around. Look at center, look at tackle, look at running back, look at quarterback, look at offensive coordinator, look at offensive line coach after what you heard from Butch Berry and how they play. Look at defense. Khalil Mack, Tuli Tuipulotu, Akeem Mesidor. Now you got Ndame Tucker, who's flashing and you're hearing really good things about. Look at the linebacker room, how deep that is. The fact that you're 4 deep at corner, that you're 4 deep at safety. That's going to be a gnarly showdown between Elijah Molden, Tony Jefferson, Genesis Smith, who had a beautiful interception. I mean, he read Trey Lance like a book, jumped the route, and snatched it up. The rookie did. And that's what he did at Arizona his whole career. Like, look at what you do have. Stop freaking out over one position because they didn't sign who you wanted them to sign or they didn't draft who you wanted them to draft. There are 22 guys plus special teams. They got the most nails kicker in the league. Meanwhile, for those tight games, like, look at what you do have. This team is crazy deep, and they'll figure left guard out because it's all I get from people. Lowe's, what do I do at left guard? It's like, they'll figure it out. That's what they'll do.
Yeah, they'll figure it out, and that's what's so crazy. Just about you get in that tunnel vision, and people say, "Oh my goodness," and because they're so used to or hearing what the media was saying prior, what they're going to do with Zion, left guard. We got to get better, and it's like, look, you have 4 of the linemen. You don't run always to Zion. There's so many different things that happen. You don't even know. You're not even giving guys the opportunity to work in that position. This is an different type of offensive scheme that's predicated on speed, finesse, and getting in good position. So this is a totally different offense. And Charger fans do. You got to think about what you do, what we do have, and we have a plethora, a lot of weapons at a lot of different positions. So get out of the doom and gloom. And say, because I guarantee there's a lot of teams. I got Buffalo on the line. Their defense, they don't have great linebackers, great corner. Go around the league. There's a lot of teams with holes. New England goes to the Super Bowl and they probably have one of the worst tackles in the league. And it was a mess. And they spent a lot of draft capital on those guys. So, and look how far they went. So you do got to move out of the way of that and just say, let's roll this ball out on the field. And you'll see exactly what this team has. And this team has a championship caliber team. I guarantee it. I don't just go sugarcoat and be like, oh yeah, they're gonna win Super Bowl. Though this team, no. Yeah. Listen, last year I talked about the year before. I've always been. I'm not a do boyer who goes, oh this no. On record, put this down. This team doesn't get injured. I'd be disappointed they're not in the AFC Championship. And it wouldn't surprise me if this team is playing for a Super Bowl. Now, on paper, do they beat the Rams? No, if the Rams are there. But I'm just saying right now, if you said, give me 2 teams, I would take this team over Baltimore in a minute. Buffalo, the Josh Allen effect. But I've seen Josh Allen crumble under pressure, against Denver, had some unwise interceptions, could have went halftime not doing it. So we've seen him go from Superman to Clark Kent. So I understand. And guess what? We've seen Justin the same way. But I think that you have to look at it. You say, just right now with the sheer weapons, it's Buffalo, the Chargers. I'd be willing to bet a hefty amount, a couple $1,000 this year. It's barring injuries. It's Buffalo and Chargers in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, I think, with the defense. So this is one of the things I was talking about with some people yesterday. Just kind of think about the last 2 years, right? Back-to-back 11-win seasons, despite getting ravaged by injury, right? Back-to-back 11-win seasons. That's what Harbaugh's bringing you. That's the floor. Now you get into the postseason, and you have got an offense that can't do anything, cannot do squat. And you've got a defense that is lighting it up. Creates 2 turnovers in the Houston game early on at zeros, and the Chargers can't get but 6 points out of it, despite having, turnovers inside the Houston 30 2 different times, and all they can get is 6 points out of that. And yet they still had the lead toward the end of the first half before a freak play, led to that first touchdown when it could have been a turnover and a scoop and score that somehow C.J. Stroud just had the ball bounce perfectly to him. So, and then you go to last year, they only allowed 16 points. They absolutely destroyed Drake May off the edge. I mean, they were in that backfield. They created a turnover at the start of the game at 0-0, and the Chargers got nothing out of it. And then a busted coverage allowed Ramondre Stevenson to get them out of, 1st and 10 from inside their own 5 all the way out to midfield, and they score a touchdown, but they still scored 16 points. All they need is a capable offense. If this team just has a capable offense, and I'm getting a little long-winded here, but yes, I get it. Jesse Minter's gone. He was in the conversation as the best DC last year. We don't know. Chris O'Leary's never called a defense in the NFL. However, Mike Elston's still the D-line coach. Dylan Roney's still the edge coach. Steve Clinkscale is still the corners coach. Adam Fuller is still the safeties coach. They still have the best staff in the NFL. Like all of those. And to me, like with Mike McDaniel and with the depth they've created and with the young guys ready, Quentin Johnston, back-to-back 8 touchdown seasons. Ladd is not going to have Keenan in his way this year, taking all those reps away from him with all of this space that Mike McDaniel is going to be made, that it's going to make available to him. Omari and Hampton, like you said, if we're planning on him being this offense is going to be light years. I mean, light years ahead of where they were the last 2 seasons. And maybe there's going to be a little drop-off with Jesse being gone. But I do not think if this is where the defense was and this is where the offense was the last 2 seasons, now I think the offense is going to be here, and maybe the defense, goes from here to here or something like that. It's a completely different deal, man. It is a completely different deal with how this thing's going to look.
In money, what was it? 16, 17 game season now? What are we at?
17.
Okay. So I know, and put this on record. If the Chargers offense, like you just alluded to, it's way better. If it scores 24 points or more, 24 points this year in every game, I don't think they'll lose more than 3 games. Mark that down. This offense is capable. If this offense scored just 24, if they can get to 24, they will. 3 is the max. I don't think they'll lose more than 3 because the defense, like you just alluded to, what they were able to do, how this defense can cause havoc, and the things they can do. But this offense, if it just gives you 24. They don't. The 3 games is the max they lose because of the defense. And this offense, I believe, is going to average more than that 20 like they did last year, 18, whatever it was, because you're healthier, you're better, you have a different type of offense, it's a different type of engine. Guys are going to be flying around. You got more big play potential. It's not a grind it out offense. It's a big play offense. It's a chunk offense, and it's explosive offense. Yeah. It's going to be different.
Share with me and everybody. Like, I get it. Jesse just seemed to have the perfect call at the perfect time, create turnovers, get teams off the field, keep them in 3rd and long, and so I get that. But like, how big of a deal is the play caller on the defensive side versus having the right players, coaching them up over the course of the week, and cutting them loose on game day? Like, share, and look, maybe it is a huge deal having the right guy on the headset, talking to the, whoever's got the green dot and how they're going to play each and every snap versus just having good coaches, having good players, cutting them loose and throwing them on the field. Like, how big of a deal is calling the defense?
Look, it's great to have a defensive coordinator that can call some defenses, but I can show you some great defenses. Buddy Ryan had one of the, they say, you say Buddy Ryan, but then when he had some bad teams, what happened? I can show you Wade Phillips, all the great calls, and Wade Phillips, great defensive coordinator, and I can show you some bad defenses and what happened. I can show you the great Steve Kerr, all the talent. He comes in and he says, hey, Steve Kerr is one of the greatest coaches. Look what he did for the Golden State Warriors. What happened when all the talent lies and everyone got old? Where have they been? Without a doubt, money, it's the latter. What you just said, if you can get guys and you know they got the boy dogs and you say this play is designed for you, and on that particular play, and you know it's 3rd and 3, and this is what the defense is doing, and you cut them loose. I think if you have those type of guys and those guys that you do have, it comes down to the men that you have on defense. And right now, the Chargers have the guy. So it's more, I think it's the latter, the more the calls.
Yeah, I mean, Derwin James is still out there. Khalil Mack is still out there. Deion Henley is still out there. Denzel Perriman is still out there bringing that thumb. Like, they still have the same guys. Tony Jefferson, who always sees it, always makes a play when he's on the field. Like, they're still out there.
And they're smart guys.
Exactly.
You're guys, and that's what people say, well, you just got a bunch of athletes. No. Tony Jefferson, the guys that you're talking about, they're students of the game.
Yeah.
Derwin James understands, okay, I'm going to go get this sack because I know what these guys are going to do. This team is a smart team. This is not just a bunch of great athletes that's just going to go play. They understand the game, the nuance of the game, and they're great players.
Yeah, I ran, and on the other side, I bumped into Rashawn in the hallway yesterday before he went out onto the field, and I just said, "How's it going, man?" He's like, "Oh man, it's great." I was like, "All right, that's what I like to hear." Just a big smile, like it's great. Like because look, you talk about smart guys. I mean, Rashawn, is in the conversation as one of the smartest guys on the team, and it's not easy to push stuff by that guy. Especially as hard as he works, the injuries he's had to deal with. He's fought through them. I know he missed all of last season, but prior to that, man, that guy was always fighting through something and working through something and refused to take any time off, a snap off, because he felt the obligation to protect Justin's blind side. And I can just see, like, maybe I'm reading too much into it, just the smile, the way he was walking, and just, man, he is, after his presser last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever that was, these guys are in, man. They believe it. They absolutely believe it. I'm watching Mike McDaniel yesterday. The guy's not even watching Justin. And Justin didn't really throw. That's, I might as well kind of dig into this because Harbaugh had his, we're kind of at 20, 25 plus minutes. So Harbaugh had his presser, first time since late May that he's done a presser, and did about 25 minutes. So I got a bunch of notes from that. But, we were talking about Herbert not throwing and kind of what goes into that. And, this is where someone like Mike McDaniel comes into play, right? Someone that's got the type of experience with the different quarterbacks that he's worked with, an MVP and Matt Ryan when he was in Atlanta, watching a guy go from Mr. Irrelevant to Pro Bowl and borderline all pro level and Brock Purdy, and how that worked. And I think, it's being able to say to coach, hey, this guy, and this is the way Coach Harbaugh explained it. He's like, look, Justin would throw hundreds of passes in every single spring practice. And Mike came in and we talked about it, and we just kind of said, hey, let's try something different. Let's not do that. What's the point? Guy's fine. He's gonna be able to throw it. And not to mention, you're trying to train him with brand new footwork. And so Herbert threw a little bit yesterday, tiny bit, and he's going to throw today and tomorrow. But kind of what they said and the way that Harbaugh explained it was, let's just ramp him up, man. Let's ramp him up. There's no reason for this guy to be throwing 200 balls every single day in spring. Why not try to ramp him up and see if we can take care of that thing a little bit? And on top of that, I don't think Mike McDaniel, I was standing there with Popper from The Athletic, and we were watching, man, and I don't think Mike McDaniel ever even watched him throw the ball when he was throwing it. He was just locked in, looking right at his feet, man. He's looking right at his feet, and every time he walked out, he would roll over, and Coach McDaniel would talk to him, and then he'd get right back under there, and same thing. He's just staring at the feet, man. So clearly, these are, Coach McDaniel is a guy that has got his priorities. He's got his system, his belief in it, and it is all footwork right now for Herbert. He knows, and I think that's one of those where, it's sort of the opposite of what I just said about 10 minutes ago. I know what you can do. Let's work on what maybe I think you can get better at, and so why not focus on that, man? When it's in June and your first game is until the second week of September, let's get this stuff down. So it's really interesting. And Coach Harbaugh said, look, the footwork's a big deal. And it was funny. There was if you watch the mic'd up from Mike McDaniel, there's a moment in there where he and Harbaugh are talking about handoffs. And McDaniel's like, well, no, I like the step here, because that way the running back doesn't have to go as wide. And Harbaugh's like, nah, when you open up, it does it. And so Harbaugh shared with us, he's like, oh yeah, he goes, I'm glad they posted that. He goes, Mike probably did 99 things that trumped what I had said. He goes, that was the one. He goes, I got one. He goes, and Mike was like, oh yeah, that makes more sense. He's like, it's the only one I had. At least I'm on the board. It's 99-1, but at least I got one for the idea of what footwork to use on a handoff for a particular formation and a particular style of runs. So you can hear, like in Harbaugh's voice as well, just how much respect he has for McDaniel, the guys have for McDaniel, and how this thing could look.
Yeah, and he lets him coach, and that's what you love about Harbs. But Harbs is going to challenge you, and he's going to wonder why, and he has to. He's a head coach, and McDaniels does leave. If this offense does flourish, he wants to know. Coach Harbaugh wants to know, and he's one of those guys. He just doesn't sit back and everyone thinks, okay, Harbaugh's just that coach that's not going to be hands on. No, he's listening. He's walking these meetings. He wants to understand the philosophy. He wants to understand, why is this offense able to have so much success no matter where you implement it, and with way lesser athletes? No disrespect to Tua and those things, but you just see, look what they were able to do. Almost MVP when you're in this offense. So when you say, okay, what is it? It's the footwork. It's the drive. It's making everything look the same. It's sprinting to an area. It's making the defense react to cover every blade of grass. And that's what the Niners, even when they, even that's why they're able to compete, because they make you cover every blade of grass, and that's what you like. And it's great that they're working with Herbert's feet, because it's like, look, I'm not worried about the arm. If I can get the footwork right, now the ball is not going to get away from you. Now your feet are set. You're not going to miss the layup. That's what he's trying to do. He's saying, look, get the feet work right, and you won't miss the layups.
Yeah. I think you're spot on, and that's, I'll just go through some of these notes here. Low said full attendance, so that's great. In terms of the non-throwing for Herbert, he said we want him to work smarter, not harder. He's a guy that always wants to work the hardest. Set the example, and we had to kind of coach him down. He's like, some guys you got to coach up and say, hey, come on, let's go. Other guys you got to say, hey, let's kind of slow down a little bit here. He goes, and that's sort of something they identified is, here's a guy that will work out. He'll outwork everybody. He'll be there first. He'll be there last. He's going to keep working individually when everybody else is inside to make those perfect throws. And we had to tell him, let's stop that. Let's instead have a little maintenance and make sure you're good. Because he's like, look, if he had to throw today, he's in midseason form. Like, we know that. So why make him do it? And why not try something different? As far as Mike McDaniel, he said, just sheer enthusiasm, energy, it transfers to the players. Just an incredibly smart football mind that the players respect the heck out of. So when he's teaching, everyone's eyes wide, locked in. This is something that's going to work, that he's already earned trust, that it's implicit. And, like I said, whatever he wants, the players are in. And they want to learn. And he said the footwork is just subtle changes. He's like, it's not drastic. He goes, but, it's muscle memory. And so you've just got to get that. And jump in here at any point. I'm just going to kind of rip through these. If you hear anything you want to, sort of riff on, feel free. So, yeah, subtle changes in the footwork. He said same thing with the running game. The footwork's a little bit different in terms of handoffs and stuff like that they're working on. But yeah, he just, like I said, Mike McDaniel earned the player trust, even though it's been a short time. And he said that actually goes beyond the offense. He's like, I'm watching on the field and I see Derwin roll up to Mike. And he goes, those guys will be talking for 5 minutes, because that's how much respect Derwin. And he said, same thing with Khalil. Those guys will go pick his brain, like, hey, what this is what I'm seeing. What are you doing? He's like, he said, when that happens, that's when He's like, it's one thing to have guys that are underneath you that you're calling plays for, that want those opportunities, versus someone that recognizes what you're doing, coming over to pick your brain.
And I love that when you see defensive guys go and just say, hey, what's this scheme, man? God, every time I see this guy pull like that, I'm not trying to get hooked. So what do I got to do? How do I know they? So these defensive guys are asking McDaniels the right question, because they know other offenses are going to run these things. So if you know the answers to the test before you get on the field, it does help you, and it's going to make this defense, now they're not trying to cover every blade of grass because they know where the grass that they need to cover. So that's what coach is trying to do, and that's the great buy-in when you have a coach like McDaniels that has so much knowledge that these defenders, these Hall of Fame, Pro Bowl type of guys, all pros, are going over and saying, I want to give me 10 minutes of your time. Let me talk to you. And I just think when you're talking about all this in this information, what Harbaugh's saying, the energy, and what McDaniel's saying, I think it's a different team. That Harbaugh's the last couple of years, you coach with kid gloves. Okay, guys, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna be tough. I want guys that are gonna be physical. I want this. So now you already know. And even though there's a draft, now your players, your coaches said, hey guys, we expect that. Let's go. This is not how we play it. I think Harbaugh's mentality, even with the veteran guys, like, hey guys, this right here, you gotta speak differently to these men. And I'm not saying it's drastically different, but it's a different sense of urgency. And it's because you belong now. Because, okay, all this stuff, we've done all these things. We've been through our battles. We've been through there. Now you know what I want.
Yeah.
You know what I want. I know what you want. And our expectations is higher now.
Yeah, no doubt. And they should be. That's what Rashawn said, right? Like, he was the one guy that got in front of the media and stood at the lectern and said, look, man, it's time for us to do it. We got enough talent. We there's no reason why we're not making a run this year. Like, it's enough with kind of what's happened since he's been drafted. It's time to take that next step because we got the team to do it. He did say with DC, going back to Chris O'Leary, new defensive coordinator with Jesse getting the Baltimore head coaching job, he did say there is difference, that there will be a difference, that there is some scheme changes. He's like, I'm not going to get into those. He goes, but yeah, there are some scheme changes. There are some things that are going to be different. And he's like, just because he's young and he hasn't done it doesn't mean we're going to say, no, let's not do that. It's his defense, man. That's we hired him for a reason. And man, when I said this when they hired him, and we talked about this when they hired him, Lo. Like, just look at Harbaugh's track record. Like, the thing that maybe gets overlooked the most is how good he is at hiring people. There are people in the world that do that are horrible talent evaluators, and they're constantly hiring and saying this person's great, and then they're firing them 3 months later and saying that person's terrible. And then they bring somebody else in. This person's great, and they fire him 6 months later. This person's terrible. And then you look at Harbaugh, and it's like Mike McDaniel at Michigan just won the Super Bowl in Seattle. Jesse Minter, young guy at Michigan. DC here, #1 scoring defense, head coach in Baltimore. So, yeah, Chris O'Leary's young, hasn't done it before, but neither did McDaniel or Jesse Minter when he put them in place to win a national championship at Michigan. And when Jesse was coordinating, he had never coordinated an NFL defense, and he had coordinated Michigan, I think, for 2 years. I don't know if he was the DC. I think he was the DC in Vandy under Clark Lee. So he had coordinated the defense in Vandy before he went to Michigan, but he had never coordinated an NFL defense before. And next thing you know, first year doing it, number one scoring defense. So I got faith that Chris O'Leary's going to be just fine. Here you go, Lo. The running game. Talked about firing off the ball. We asked him what was different. You've been coaching. We know what did I remember when Harbaugh got hired at Stanford, his initial presser. He said, when I decided to get into coaching, I reached out to Bo, his old coach, Bo Schembechler at Michigan, and I said, I think I want to get into coaching. And Bo said, and I may have told this story before because it's one of my favorites, but Bo said, all right, you got a tight end that's going to put a hand on the ground? Yeah, okay. You got a fullback? Yep, got a fullback. He goes, okay. You going to run God's play? Huh? You going to run power? Yep. All right, you can coach. So that's the foundation of Jim Harbaugh football. And now we got outside zone. We got offensive lines looking a little different. Credit card alignment for him at Stanford. These guys are 330 pounds with 3 tight ends. This is a little bit different now. And he said, yeah, look, it's different, but it's not. He's like, it's still physical. And it's still, the same principles that I believe in, that you go out there and you're going to punch people in the throat and, you're going to run it. And so that sort of stuff is, what he said is pretty similar while things are a little bit different. He also tipped his cap to Butch Berry. And he's like, man, sometimes he's like, I call him the man in the straw hat. Harbaugh gets, he'll get his eyes, look a little wide and be like, and he'll wait for people. I don't know if he wants us to laugh or if he wants us to nod because he'll go, Butch Berry, yeah. I call him the man in the straw hat. We'll all sit there and he'll then go, because he wears the straw hat out there. We're like, okay, here we go. Now we're rolling. But he goes, look, a lot of head coaches He goes, they want to stay. This is a fun little, I actually got a kick out of this. He was like, a lot of those head coaches, man, they just want to stand in the middle of the field, and they stand and they want to look at him. He goes, not me, man. He goes, I like being in the end zones. He goes, I want to be with Butch, watching him coach offensive line. He goes, then I'll go down to the other end zone and I'm going to watch, Mike Elston and Dylan Roney coach defensive line. He goes, I like being on the edges, man.
Did he really?
Yeah, that's great.
You got to love it. And that's what, and what I took away from that, Money, is what you're talking about. He said, look, it's still the same. He said, yeah, it's still these big guys, but they're running. He said, I want physical. Just because this team now runs some type of finesse offense doesn't mean you can't be still physical. So you can take this because it's a finesse, spread you out, get going, run to the spots, do those things. Just because it's finesse, don't think Harbaugh says, look, guys, we're still going to be physical. And this offense is still going to be a physical offense, even though it's finesse and physical, because they go hand in hand.
Yeah, and I think, in the Butch Berry thing, Lo, I think we can all relate to it, right? I had someone, I've been doing a radio show here in LA for 20 years now. Petros and I have been doing it, and this is our 20th year. And
wow,
we did national radio for like 3 years. They took the show national, and we didn't like it. It just wasn't us, man. We're so ingrained in this community. And look, it's not like we're in a small market. We're in LA, so what the heck? But we have bosses that appreciate us and constantly reinforce how much they appreciate us and how much we mean to the company and how great it is to have us. And, they've helped us become this sort of pillar, of this station that's been on the air in the same time slot longer than any other show in Los Angeles. So, do I need to keep looking around for something? No, I'm happy, man. I wake up and I enjoy working. I love working with my partner. We have a great time every day. And I mention that because I listened to how Harbaugh talks about his coaches, and he said, listen, you media guys, you don't follow me around. Don't watch me. I'm not doing anything. He goes, you want to see something special? He goes, watch individual. He goes, watch Butch Berry in individual drills. Watch Dylan Roney work with these edges. Watch Adam Fuller work with the safeties. He goes, that's where the action is, guys. He goes, these guys can coach, man. He's like, and if you'd be much better served to watch them, watch what they're doing. Mike Elston with the defensive line. And, he goes, that's what I do. He goes, I catch myself just watching them and just saying to myself, man, do I have good coaches? And, it takes me back to Mike Elston saying, yeah, look, I'm 50. I think you said I'm 51. He goes, there was a time when I was eyes on the prize, DC, and then be a great DC and then head coach. He goes, now, I love it here, man. I just want to be the best defensive line coach in the league. He's like, I love working with Coach Harbaugh. And I just want to coach these guys up, man, help them make their money, realize their dreams, and have the best D-line in the NFL. He goes, that's what I want to do. And I think a lot of that is the atmosphere that Coach Harbaugh has created, where Steve Klinkscale knows, yeah, look, I would have liked to have been the DC. I didn't get the job. O'Leary got it. But he appreciates what I'm doing with the secondary. And there's value, and I get compensated fairly. He might be the highest paid secondary coach in the league. Mike Elston might be the highest paid D-line coach in the league, and that's a way to show appreciation as well. But I thought it was pretty cool that he constantly is like, I'm not doing anything, guys. These are the guys that are doing everything that you should be paying attention to.
Yeah, and when you're a head coach, Money, that when you praise others, your gift to make room for you. Coach Harbaugh is a jewel, and the Chargers knew that. That's why they went out and did what they needed to do to make sure they solidified him. He's a builder. Look what he does right away. He's in the playoffs, and people, hey, now they want Harbaugh to make that next step, and he gets that. And barring injuries, they will. But you think about it, Harbaugh, he hired from within. He could have went out and looked and said, hey, what is it going to take to steal you away from this other team? There were so many people that were out there that he could have went out as a defensive coordinator, go find a defensive coordinator. Yeah. But what did he do? He knew that there was someone in his staff that he could depend on. And that's where he looked no further. And he promoted from within. He practices what he preaches, because he's telling you guys, watch these different guys and watch these guys. And he means that. Why does he mean it? How do you know he means it? Because he hired, a guy from within to be his DC. So Harbaugh's a great coach. He's a great mentor, and coaches get to coach. They know they can coach, be free in this organization with him. And that's the levity that he gives his coaches. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think, Chris O'Leary is such an interesting case, because Lo, you mentioned he basically did promote him from within. He was the safeties coach 2 years prior. He had some personal stuff come up, didn't want to leave, but he's like, look, we got to go back to Michigan. And so he ends up going back to Western Michigan, coordinating the defense last year. I think they were 108th in total defense, and he got them up to 17th and coached up the leading sack man in NCAA Division I football, or FBS football, whatever you want to call it now.
Right.
And then he's like, all right, that was great. Can you come back, or are we good? You know, or is everything good on the front, you know, for why you had to leave? And he's like, yeah, we're all good now. He's like, great, come on back. Let's go. And to keep all the stat, like, think about having Klink, who's probably in his mid-40s. You know, I don't want to age him. I'm gonna put it there. You know, Elston, who's in his 50s. Dylan Roney's going to be a star. Dylan's going to end up getting. You know, I think he's going to end up getting one of these DC gigs. He's a shining star in that edge room. And even though they got I don't know what Chris is now, maybe 32, 33 at the most, I think. You know, to be like, no, we're good. Yeah, that's cool, man. We're stoked for Chris. He's going to get his shot. He's going to be a DC. He's got the makeup, no doubt about it. And here you got, you know, Mike Elston that was coaching defense at Notre Dame for all those years, you know, and being in the college football. He's like, I'm good. I'm 51 and I'm good. And I'm gonna work underneath Chris, and that's fine. And I think that's the sort of stuff that is bred. Just quickly, left guard competition said feels like they got three guys. It's the three that we thought of: Coyote, Jake Slaughter going from center to guard, their second round pick, and Trevor Penning. So he said, yeah, it's probably between those three. Feels like he's got a lot of options. He said Slaughter, just a quote, he's a guy. So, you know, he's very comfortable with Slaughter as long as he can make that transition. He talked about the depth on this team because I specifically brought up Junior Colson, obviously that he coached up at Michigan and he was the leader of that defense that won a national championship. And I'll be honest, like, you know, Harbaugh can really heap praise on it. And instead we got, you know, yeah, Junior's in a good place. He's attacking it, and he's in a very deep room. He's in a room that's 6 to 8 players deep. So that to me is
he knows.
You better freaking get after it, dude, because you got Marlo Wax, an undrafted free agent. You got Delshon Phillips, who was a special teams ace that got some time, got some reps at linebacker that showed out. And you got Troy Dye and obviously DP and Denzel Perriman. And I don't think they're keeping 6. If I had to guess, that's a room that keeps 5. And so, you know, Junior, if I had to guess, is probably on the outside, and he's got to figure out a way. Can I jump Marlo Wax and get into that mix?
And I'm going to tell you, you know, we started this conversation and you said, hey, look, a couple more days, low OTAs are done after tomorrow. And you said, guys, it's going to be quiet for those, you know, 6 to 8 weeks. And you talked about, hey, look, this is the time you vacation, you clear your mind. This is the time you make your most gains of the year. If guys are serious, this is when I went crazy. I mean, I had Paul Vaden, you know, middleweight champion of the world, come in. He would train me, you know, going to Fresno State, wrestling with guys in the off season. This is where I was running my hills, you know, 110 degrees, getting up at 6 a.m, working up at 6, and then going back out at, you know, 12 o'clock in the Fresno heat when it's to Woodrow Park and go and run the hills, you know, and then doing plies and stretching and lifting later on at night. This 6 weeks is more because you don't have to worry about, hey, look, I got to go to see the team and okay, now I got to go run. This is your time. This is your time. Yeah, you can get a week, go on vacation, but take all your workout clothes and you get your ass out there and you work out just like you're in a vacation.
Right.
This is you're a guard. You're fighting for this guard position. You're fighting for the safety position. This is a 6, 7 weeks. You know the gains you can make in this amount of time. And these guys need to take advantage of this, especially those bubble guys. This is the time that I would shine.
Let me just say this. If I were at Fresno State and I were on the wrestling team and I'm in the gym in July, I'm going to have an agreement with everybody else on the team that we're going to rotate and somebody's going to keep an eye on the parking lot. Because if I see freaking Low roll in and I envision you rolling in like a Lexus with 22-inch rims or something like that, if I see that car roll in, I immediately yell in, he's here. And I am sprinting my ass out the back of that door. I want nothing to do with this guy. If he comes in, he's like, all right, man, what do we got? Who's ready for something, man?
But the leader would make him come. Dennis DeLito, great guy. You beat him. He'll probably come out to the course. He was our wrestling coach. Hey, Lee, and his voice sounds like that. Hey, Lee, Renzo needs some help today. I need you guys to come up here and go around with you. Wrestlers, you know they're crazy.
Yeah, I see Low roll in, and it's like, Debo, you want some of this, young man? No. I'm out. No, I don't. I want none of that. I want absolutely none of that. I don't want to be thrown around like a rag doll by freaking Lorenzo Neal. I'm having a good time this summer, I'm going to go to the Bulldog Grill and eat a tri-tip sandwich after this, man. To get my freaking neck broke by this guy doing a hip throw on me, and I end up in the second row of the bleachers.
It was all drilling. It was to help me. Okay, so I wasn't being that type of guy.
Yeah, hey, Money, get down. Lowe's going to be in up position. Great. Oh, what do you know? My face just got broke on the rubber of the mat. That was wonderful. Collapsed my arm in a tenth of a second.
I can't do this right now. Oh, I'm sweating. I'm really sweating, buddy.
Let me get. Let's see what we got here. Talked about. Yeah, I think we're. Oh, you know what? The last thing he mentioned. I think for people that are holding out for Keenan, I would say don't hold your breath. He talked about the wide receiver room. He said, I believe we have 3 elite receivers. He said, I believe that Tre Harris, Quentin Johnston, and McConkey can be elite. That's the word he used, receivers in this offense. He goes, and then behind that, we got depth. Keandre Lambert-Smith, Brennan Thompson now, their 4th-round pick. He's like, it's a really deep room, and we've got 3 elite players. So the idea that Keenan would come in, to me, that would be injury only. And unless there is an injury and they need to replace that player, like if it's Ladd and Ladd said he was just dealing with a hamstring, that he'll be fine. He's like, we just figured why heat this thing up before training camp. Let's just kind of take it easy. So he's been doing individual. So there was that. And then I'll spin that low into Q and Ladd. They were both at the lectern. And in terms of Ladd, it was just the hammy. I think that's really the one big takeaway that you would have. He just said, yeah, dude, I'm just nursing a hammy and I'll be fine. I'll be 100% by training camp. They're just like, let's just take it easy. No reason to do that right now. But with Q, I think it's here it is. It's exactly what we talked about. And you've talked to him a bunch. You've gotten to know Q. But like it's someone there's only 4 other receivers that have 16 touchdowns the last 2 years. Like he's in the conversation with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Devontae Adams and Quentin Johnston. Wow. That's it. That's the company he's in for touchdowns. And I was listening to one of the national podcasts, and it drives me crazy. I just want to, like not WWF, not WWE, WWF it, man. Just open hand slap, man. Old freaking Schultz. The way Schultz would just, you know what that is? That's an open hand slap.
Oh.
I heard someone talking. They were doing, I think they might have been, I can't remember what show it was. I'd love to name it. But I just wanted to reach through the freaking, the radio and strangle him. And I don't want to call it a radio because it's not radio. It's a podcast. And these guys just open their mouths and poop comes out. They were talking about supporting casts and stuff. And he's like, well, Quentin, he's got such unreliable hands. Guy drops everything. And I'm like, listen.
Where you been?
Where you been, dude?
Right.
And I think he even mentioned Keenan. He's like, Keenan, and he's not back, so I don't know what to make. Keenan had double the drop rate of Q last year. Literally double. I think Keenan's drop rate was 4.8%. Q's was 2.2. It was one of the lowest in the league, his drop rate. So I bring that up because when Q was at the podium, he was asked about his 5th-year option being picked up. And he said, yeah, man, look, he goes, I think it's a testament to the work ethic. He's like, it might not have started well, but I focused, I worked hard. And I think that's, sort of, they recognize that. And then he said, yeah, it's kind of like a weight being lifted as opposed to thinking about, okay, they declined it. Now I got to think about my future. Is it going to be here? Am I going to move somewhere else? And I'm going to be a free agent at the end of this year. Instead, the guy's got $18 million sitting there. And that's more than he made on his entire first 4 years of his rookie deal. Guy's set for life now, with that $18 million, no matter what happens this year. Right. And what are drops, Lo? They're concentration, right? Exactly. The guy's got giant hands. They're concentrated. Right. So now you're not thinking about, oh, man, I just dropped that ball and I'm not under contract. And now what's going to happen? No, now you're just free and easy, man. And so I think that's part of the that's part of the thought process, I think, that went into picking up that option. It's not a big number. It sounds big because none of us can fathom the idea of making $18 million in 1 year. But in the grand scheme of things, when Wan'Dale Robinson is getting $18 million, when Jacoby Myers is getting $20 million, $18 million is not that much for a guy that's in the conversation with only 4 other players when it comes to touchdowns over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, and this guy, Q's going to continue to get better. And I think just what you alluded to, now it's the weights off his chest, the big weights have been lifted off his chest. Now this guy's going to say, I'm going to do my thing. And this is a guy that can have such an amazing year that halfway through the season or in the season, they're talking about already redoing his contract. That's the kind of, this is what this guy can do. He has so much upside, and you've always said it, the potential that he has. Now he's catching the ball. He can catch the ball, get the yak yards. He's fast. He can take the roof off of. What can't the guy do? He can run routes. He can lead guys. He can stretch the field. So here's a guy that's coming to his own. I'm happy for him. But this room, like Coach Harbaugh is saying, it's stacked. You got 3 elite receivers, and you got some depth behind it.
Yeah, and he mentioned, Mike McDaniel's the one that brought up Julio Jones and Andre Johnson, and we asked him about that, if he had heard him say that. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he said he mentioned that me behind closed doors, and we watched a little bit of film of those guys. And he was kind of, so that wasn't just, hey, let's build him up to the media. Media's been pretty hard on Q. I'm Mike McDaniel. Obviously, I've got the reputation and the resume that, I've got, nearly a 2,000-yard season with Tyreek Hill and an 1,800-yard season with Jalen Waddle. And, I've got guys like Kendrick Bourne putting up huge numbers, and I've worked with Julio and all. No, Q was like, oh, yeah, he brought that up when he first got here. We sat and we watched film together. He goes, it was mostly Miami stuff. He said, but yeah, that came up. So that's not media lip service. That's stuff that Mike McDaniel was talking to Q about. And he did get a little puffy chest lifted up a little bit when he was asked about Yak and the way he's going to be. He's like, yeah, look, man. He goes, that was my bread and butter in college. I mean, that's what we did, and so I think he's probably excited because that guy was forced into being an X, with the injury to Mike Williams. That is not what he did. His rookie year, I thought, not to take shots, but I guess I am, so I shouldn't even say that. Like, it was incredibly irresponsible of Brandon Staley to put him in that position, to put him at X, when that is not what he did. You could, if you watch the film at TCU, the guy was not a ball tracker. He was not a deep ball threat, was not comfortable with contact downfield. This is a dude that was 3 steps, foot in the ground, choice route, which way you going, and let's go. And it just was, it was a bad idea from the start. And it was unfortunate that Mike got hurt, because I think had he not, Q's first year probably would have been a lot better. Now, look, he did have some drop issues at TCU, but he was just put in a bad spot. And I think was able to overcome that. Sanjay Lal, again, another one of the great coaches on this staff, was able to work with him, build him back up. Coach Harbaugh building him back up. Greg Roman building him back up. Herbert, when we talked to him, and we're going to talk to him again tomorrow, a couple of weeks ago, he mentioned, I've never lost faith in Q. He goes, that's my guy, and obviously he's got 8 touchdowns in each year. He goes to him in the red zone, in the money area. So I don't think it's lip service. I think, and Coach Harbaugh said that too. He goes, oh yeah, Q's going to have a career year. He goes, this guy's going to have a career year. So for you fantasy folks, look out now. Go ahead, take advantage of the dopes that are still talking about drops with Q, when he had one of the lowest drop rates last year of any wide receiver targeted as much as he was, and 8 touchdowns. Feel free to snatch him up, when you feel like there's that value there, because nobody else knows that, yeah, this guy's been pretty darn good the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to go watch this guy get on the field and watch Ladd get on the field and watch these 2 receivers go at it. Because, Ladd, what he can do in the slot, you can move him all over. The ways Ladd is, he's even, he's leaving. You give him a 2-way go, he's going to beat you. Ladd McConkey, you have 2 receivers. Yes, Q can stretch. Q can grab the ball and get the yak yards, and he's physical, can run through guys. Q's a physical type of guy. Ladd is just so smooth. He's fast. He brings another dimension. I can't wait to see what Mike McDaniels, how he loosens these guys up, and Tre Harris, what he's going to design, and especially behind a run game that you got a guy that can fly, Marion Hampton, got a guy that can run over people, run through people. He's got speed. He can do it all. It's just going to be interesting to watch this offense evolve week after week after week.
Yeah, it really is low, and we only got 2 more days of it, so we'll talk about that next week. Week after that, we're going to be talking about your golf tournament and how
Yeah,
poorly I did
absolutely.
and how I killed somebody and I'm being sued because I had a wayward drive. I'll just quickly go through the notes and we'll wrap this up. We're at an hour. So let's see, notes from practice. There wasn't really a lot going on. Herbert did not throw in any of the live. It was all Trey Lance and DJ. What's good here? 89. Made it tough. Okay, so that's Brennan Thompson. Tough contested catch on an out. There's the formations. Genesis Smith was out there. I already mentioned his pick versus Trey. Jumped it. Read his eyes perfectly. Here we go. Keaton Mitchell had a beautiful touchdown on a wheel route down the right sideline. Was able. I mean, that's just when you see that 4.2 speed where he just pulled away from. I think it was who was following him. I think it was a safety that was covering him. Might have been Mickens. I don't want to put that guy on blast, though. Trey had a real nice slant that went for 20 yards, so I got 26-23. So that was with Dante Jackson and in front of the safeties who were Mickens and Jefferson. And then play of the day was our man Brennan Thompson and his 4.2. What is he, a 4.23? 4.28 guy. 4.28 guy, their 4th-round pick. Man, he had a post, and ain't like Trey's got a weak arm. Trey's got a pretty big arm. Trey Lance does.
Sure.
He must have underthrown him by 10 yards. He dusted this defender, and he was gone. And Trey, I'm not kidding when I say he had to stop, and he looked like Hayes Pollard waiting for that ball in the end zone against ASU when USC lost at the last second because that ball never got to him. He was just standing there waiting for it. And it's just like, hey, guys, if Brennan gets by his dude, throw it as hard as you can because he's going to go get it. He's that fast.
Wow.
So that was the one. That was probably the biggest takeaway I had was how freaking fast this guy is and how badly underthrown it was with a dude, because all their quarterbacks have big arms. Trey's got an arm. DJ's got an arm. Obviously, Herbert's got an arm. And, man, was that thing underthrown.
Just left the corner, left the who was the corner guard him or safety? Just
it was
corner out, and he just, boom, out and gone.
Boom, under the post. See you later. And it was over. Because I thought it was a double. Like, he dusted him so bad, I thought it was a double move. And I was like, oh, was that a little pump and go? Like, what was that? And then I turned around, and they've got a video board where you can watch the replay. And I was like, that's just a straight post. And he freaking put his foot in the ground and see you later, man. Out.
Wow.
And, I mean, he was so wide open. And, again, he still caught it. Like, that's how much room he had, the distance from the safety, even though he's standing there waiting for the thing to come down. Still completed the pass. And it's like, hey, dude, put everything you got into that freaking throw, and that dude's going to go find his way under it.
That's amazing. If you can throw the ball and he's waiting and the safety still can't catch up, that's how bad you smoked him. And it wasn't like the safety just waited. The safety was trying to keep up with him. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know how that sounds? You know, he runs by the guy, the ball's underthrown, he's waiting on the ball, the safety still can't catch up with the ball.
Right.
That's amazing.
So that's 4.28, man, and that's what's different. And that's why guys that are as small as he is continue to get drafted. Many of them don't pan out, but guys like, Deshaun Jackson do and Devontae Smith do. Now, Devontae's a different animal. He's just such a stupid route runner, man. But I'm excited. We got to get out of here, Lo, because I got to hit the road in 18 minutes so I can get up to the Bolton time for these pressers with Chris O'Leary and Mike McDaniel. Get those today. And then I think post we're doing Herbert today, I believe. Oh,
wow. I can't wait to hear that.
Today is another Justin Herbert day at the podium. Let's see, am I right on that? Today's Herbert and Omari and Hampton. So going to get up there. A little Chris O'Leary, Mike McDaniel, Herbert, Omari on Hampton is our day today. And
good for you.
We'll get all that for you next week. But again, go to PM Lounge Fresno, I think is what it is, right? Let me make sure I got that right.
Absolutely. I got my brochure for you.
There it is, baby.
There it is.
There it is.
Go to pmlounge.com, click there. It's only a couple spots, so let's get out there. Let's have a great time. The great Money Smith's going to have a ball. He and I are going to have some shots together. Shots of water, lemonade.
Exactly right. The website is thepmlounge.com, thepmlounge.com, and they have a link right there where you can reserve your foursome. It's going to be a great time. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm even playing another round on Saturday, Lo, to continue to shake off the rust.
Let's do it. I think your boy's even coming up. Crazy Meta's even coming. He said, "Lo, I want to come see your golf tournament." I said, "You're basketball. You can't come." He said, "I'm coming." So,
come on, really?
Yeah, actually.
One of my favorite. I was working with the Lakers when Meta was there.
Okay.
So Ron Artest, baby, one of the great Rutgers Scarlet Knights from back in the day. I'm sorry, no, St. John's. He was right. Ron was St. John's, I believe. Yeah, I think Ron was St. John's. One of the great New York City basketball players. So it'll be fun to catch up with him. Just a great, genuine dude. Yeah, Lindsay's got me right. St. John's. I was thinking of Dylan Harper, who lit up the finals. So, all right. We're going to be up there in a week. Exactly. Yep. Thanks, everybody. Make sure you rate, review, if you don't mind, share, and we appreciate the heck out of you. Thanks to our friends at Believe and all of our friends, of course, at FanDuel. Great Lindsay, who puts this whole thing together. Got those.
You're the best, Lindsay.
We'll be back again next week. Bolt up.
Bolt up. Put the money on the Chargers. Go ahead, guys. Over 10. Big money. Let's go.